friends, Jewel back with another super cool astrology video, and I want to talk about the composite aspect of Mars opposing Pluto. What happens when we see this wild one? So Mars is the collective or the combined ego between two people, the combined forcefulness between two people. And Pluto is change and transformation, buried things, unconscious things, things that we don't realize that are there, but they are definitely in control. And so, when we have these two meeting in an opposition in a midpoint chart, it's talking about how we have two people who are very well matched when it comes to their ego structures and are basically trying to crush each other's egos. These are two well-matched opponents, and they both want to win when we have this particular opposition. You don't want to get in the way of two people that get really fired up who have this one, because this is a very difficult to manage and difficult to control opposition. Both people really, really want to come out on top. And so we see these cyclical ego battles between them. And there's something about the way that you mix, where when something vital or important or that has to do with change comes up, you actually pull apart. So you bring out the worst in each other when you are in stressful situations. So, in well-functioning relationships, we would hope to see the opposite, where when things are tough or things get hard, that's when we really, throw into the same boat together and say, let's do this together, or we team up under those circumstances. We do not team up when we have this opposition, when the going gets tough. We go our own way. And that's really hard to maintain a partnership under, when we can't count on each other to be on our side when the going gets tough. So we have sides when we have this particular opposition, and we both are fighting to have our side be right, and we do not want the other one to get away with anything with this particular opposition. It makes us very selfish. We're being selfish in a relationship when we have this one. We can have other things going on. We can maybe have a buttload of Neptune and other stuff, and this is expressing situationally. But generally, when we have this opposition, we're probably not going to have a lot of those other things. And it's going to be a bit of a battle. So, you are going to have a major effect on each other. You are going to cause in each other a major change. You don't have to force this with this opposition. It's going to happen on its own. But it's very hard not to force things in general with this opposition. You have to allow each other to be as you are. You can't make each other come over to your way. You individually have to be the one that is the bigger person when we have this opposition. And you have to ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Do I want to be right or do I want to have a relationship? And be honest about that. Sometimes with this particular opposition, it comes down to, I want to be right. And that is not love. That is not love. That is selfishness, and that is wanting to win and wanting to have somebody that validates your ego, because there's always a struggle with this particular opposition. We're always embroiled in some kind of struggle. And so when we're struggling all the time, our mind is busy. Our ego is busy. We are actually reinforcing each other's egos. by struggling to tear them down. We're reinforcing them in the way that we're reminding each other constantly that it's there. This is not the kind of aspect that you have in relationships where we are really facilitating each other's growth and helping each other to have more experiences or better experiences or to become a better version of ourselves. This is that kind of opposition that gives you that energy. Like, if I can make you feel bad, if I can put you down and make you feel this big, then I'm going to feel better about myself. Kind of evil, huh? Kind of evil. That's what we see with this opposition. We're not relating to each other out of love. We're relating to each other out of selfishness and wanting the other person's misery and sublimation to be a validating force for our own self. So it's this is one where trying to hurt and crush each other is not going to make you ultimately feel better about yourself. That's what we don't get in the end with this one. We actually feel defeated, totally defeated, worn out, like we've been at war with this particular opposition. We don't win anything in the end. If you really want to handle this opposition in a way that's mature, you must allow your partner to be as they are and mind your own damn business. Because Pluto is trying to get you unconsciously to change, trying to get them to change for you. Who's to say that anybody needs to change for you? What kind of selfishness is that? Your partner gets to be who they are. You picked them for a reason. And they will transform you, and you will transform them. But if you don't back off and stop trying to do it through force and through creating stress and through creating conflict, what you'll end up doing is they'll end up changing partners, and you'll end up being alone. So this one does lead to incredible insights and changes when it comes to one's own ego, body, mind, identity. Most people are not going to get there. They're going to rip each other to shreds long before they get to the benefits that we see when we're properly and maturely handling this particular opposition. The benefits are that we get to see clearly exactly how our ego and our identity has demanded what it wants, and then make the adjustments needed in order to ourselves sublimate and control and ultimately escape our own ego. So it isn't about making that other person over or forcibly making them do what you need them to do because they are just never seeing it your way. It's about you doing that for you. When we have hard aspects between Mars and Pluto in a composite chart, you must be the change that you want to see in the other person. You must do that yourself. They respond to this beautifully when you do. They see that you're modeling what it is that you would like to have in them, and they adopt that behavior because now it's safe to do so. They respond to you almost immediately when we are being the change that we want to see. It's hard to do because you don't win when you do it. What you do win is their love. You win tenderness. You win the ability to be vulnerable. You may not have them seeing you as right, completely right then in that moment. But by being the change you want to see, eventually you do get to be right. That's the paradox. and not fighting to be right, you get to be right. So we need to be tender with this opposition. We need to be understanding. We need to back off. We need to understand that under times of stress or of difficulty, and we see a lot of that with this opposition, that we tear apart. We need to remind ourselves, hey, I want to be happy. I don't need to be right. I don't need the other person to validate my rightness. I can get that in a million other places. I want to be happy. I'm not going to argue this. I'm going to let them and the situation be as it is, and I'm going to go along without resistance. It creates a miracle in your relationship. It can save a relationship that has this opposition. This opposition can be so deeply divisive that it can cause physical harm between two people. Because it shows them pushing out to the extremes of their ego and violence drives. And we're, I'm so sorry, we're instigating this in each other. So it's a very unconscious opposition to deal with. On the other hand, it's not, because we're dealing with Mars, which is a very conscious planet. It's us, being our own individual self, but it's combining with Pluto to I'm so sorry, I don't know what's up with that, to create some very unconscious impulses that are driving the ego drives. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. I am mainly a relationship and intimacy astrologer, but I interpret all types of charts. And usually I'm not joking when you talk to me, but yeah, sometimes I am. Mercury's in retrograde, you never know. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, other social media at Truth and Aspect Astrology. And I will be back super soon with more super cool videos. Hopefully not choking my way through it. Bye-bye.